Hello and welcome to another WeAreDevelopers Live. It's Wednesday again. We're sitting together and we got a friend coming along to chat with us about different bits and bobs that are happening in the technology world and in other worlds around it. So, Dan, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm very well. I'm really looking forward to today because I love CSS and I've just finished writing an article all about it. So I really enjoy those times when I just get to kind of forget all of the other parts because I do love CSS. So we're going to learn a lot today and we're hearing from a bit of a master. So yeah, it's going to be really good.
Cool. And yeah, without further ado, let's get him on stage. Today we got Zoran Jambor from CSS Weekly. He's running a newsletter that actually has a lot of CSS features, and he does a lot of stuff on YouTube as well, with really short introductions, videos, and little bits and bobs. And it's not only CSS. I found, for example, the other day you did that thing about like using your fingerprint to do sudo on the terminal in Mac. That was pretty amazing. But yeah, Zoran, so where are you from? What do you do?
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Zoran Jambor. I'm the author of CSS Weekly, developer advocate at Joint.js, and I'm from Croatia. I've been working on CSS Weekly for ages now, and I really love everything around CSS or technology in general. So that's in short about me.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see CSS going places now. The other day, I just basically started to edit something, and it just started with an add layer, and like it looked like programming language kind of now. Like a lot of people can make it look very complex, like variables that inherit other variables. And I love when CSS was just like very simple. Every line explained itself. But by now we can do incredible stuff with it, and it comes with a bit of complexity, but it's fun because developers, like real developers that do Java and other boring things, kept telling that CSS is horrible. It's not a proper programming language because it seems too simple. Now they complain that it's too complex. So we cannot help them, can we?
No, there is no step between. It's just either too simple or now it's way overboard.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, the weird thing though is like with the complexity that it has right now, it still becomes problematic to debug it, because I mean, when you get a complexity of like inherited things from other bits, and we have like mix-ins and these kind of things, you would want a console where you can actually look up the changes, or there's scripts you can slow down the rendering and see them bit by bit how it comes, and you can use the performance tools in the browser for that as well. But it feels like the insight into CSS was never there, and that confused a lot of people. Like, it just applied itself and then it was there, and not like there was no like step debugging that you could do with JavaScript.
Yeah, I mean, browser developer tools do a lot of work for us in that area, so I think it's pretty good. But the flow that you mentioned that we have here now, variables inheriting variables, like that is really difficult to figure out and debug. And I found that developers oftentimes just overcomplicate things for no good reason. Like, instead of having a complex CSS function, maybe you can just flat out do a couple of lines and handle that thing easily, simply. And in terms of maintainability, I think that oftentimes is a better approach to just go with something simpler, even if it's not just the hottest and newest in CSS.
I see it the same as like public speaking or like writing as well. Like, people always try to hide behind very clever terms and very expressive things and show that they're more intelligent than they are. But writing simple and easy to understand is one of the hardest tasks. At the same time, it makes you feel less arrogant. And I see the same with code. Like, if it's 3 lines that actually explain themselves rather than one ternary expression that has with like 5 nested if statements in it where you have no idea, it's probably a better idea to do the 3 lines.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I went through that phase as well. Back in the day, I started doing that, like just, oh, I can do this in 1 line, not in 3 lines, like you said. And eventually you figure out, like, there's no point in doing that. Like, developer that comes after me is going to have hard time understanding that. I'm going to have hard time understanding that later on when I jump into that code. And the upside is what? Basically,
I mean, then it's fun when you have people that seem to be on another level. I mean, I talk a lot with Anna Tudor, and when she does CSS stuff, it's just mental math, arithmetics, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
and she's like, so why do people get this? And I'm like, because it's unreadable. I have no idea. This looks like ASCII art now. Like, this is not CSS any longer.
Yeah, I agree. Ton of stuff is amazing, but I don't even go into understanding it. It's way too much.
We used it in Edge to test our CSS engine because the stuff is normally so brutal and so hard on the rendering engine to make it perform. We used her demos that she had on CodePen, so that
Oh,
was
wow.
quite fun.
That's
Well,
interesting.
cool. Let's go and take a look at some news and look some stuff that we can share and we can start chat about. The first thing that I found very interesting is to cause havoc and to actually be annoying. The as seen on TV that you probably have seen somewhere on like advertising and stuff has come out of copyright. So you can put that on anything now. So if you want in your CSS weekly videos, you can select as seen on TV. Nobody can stop you from doing that, and confuses the hell out of people. And I love that when a brand that has become such a weird thing, because it was for advertising things that had a TV ad, and that was the only allowed to do that. But now you can do it wherever, and that's actually quite fun. That every time a new year comes around, the things go into public domain and copyright runs out, and that's when you can actually do these nasty things and interesting things. So then, if you said your band is going to record some new songs, you can actually, as seen on TV, as one of the titles, and use that logo, and there's going to be a lot of recognition going on.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the little detail though when you read that Wikipedia page at the bottom, which is the alternative version, which is as seen on TV in some countries. I like that it's sort of like, we're such a big deal, we're famous, but only in countries where you won't have watched the TV. It's like saying, you know, I've got a friend, but they go to another school. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, or the girlfriend from Canada, yeah, like that nobody ever met kind of thing. Like, yeah. It's interesting as well in England, when you had CCTV cameras and you basically were in front of it, you could ask for the recording by law. And I think there were bands playing in front of CCTV cameras and had like music videos of them just playing randomly in the street that way. So that was another fun thing. Now, I want to give a trigger warning on that next one. And it basically, it's been doing the rounds, and I found it very fascinating that this is just, the Windows cursor is not symmetrical. And I mean, if that's the case, then everything is out. Like, have that beer, get another pizza, have another cocktail, like don't pronounce the P in pterodactyl, like do whatever you want, because there is no law any longer. And this is just, what cracks me up about this the most is that did the rounds, and people were like, oh my God, why did you do this to me? I'm getting triggered. And I'm getting more triggered by Windows cursor, because this is a mouse pointer, this is not a cursor. And cursor is written with an O and not with an E.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that.
Me neither.
Isn't that bad? Yeah. So focused on the asymmetrical arrow that we didn't actually notice that. Yeah, it's a good point. It's still irritating though.
Yeah, it's a shame I don't work at Microsoft anymore. I want to find out who did that and say where it lives and dox him or whatever. Because it's like, this is just not right, is it?
Isn't that a design decision, maybe? Like, maybe there's a reason behind that. Like, when you have things centered on the screen, like if you do a mathematical center, that's not visually as good as a little bit off center to the top, because it's just more prominent and easier on the eyes. So maybe that's
because of
something
face
around.
tilt or something, or like because we look over things, or yeah, that might be an interesting one. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that can't be by chance, you know, like that there has to be a reason for it. But it's a wonderful thing to annoy people with it. Like, it's just, I mean,
once you see that, it gets annoying, probably.
It's even harder to paint it that way, isn't it? Because it's much easier to make an arrow that just is centered.
See, I wonder if actually, if you were to put that, if you were to like zoom in and do that sort of by blocks, you know, pixel art, I think you might be onto something, Zoran. It might be that, you know, that like that idea of like you've got your one pixel, and so if you're then going to try and blur around that, you end up with this odd number of like 5 or 3. So it could be that, yeah, they had to pick a side effectively. You know, they couldn't land in the middle.
And I mean, this was the days when it was still CGA displays with like 640 pixel width of the whole screen. So that might be another bit about it. So it's interesting. I found this really interesting as well, that Block just like laid off like 4,000 people of its 10,000 and said it's AI. And it's interesting how much backlash companies get for that right now. That basically says like, no, I'm sorry, it's not AI, but you actually hired too many people and you don't know, didn't know what to do with them. So the narration of like AI is so moving so fast that we can get rid of a lot of people seems not to be real. It feels to me like an easy excuse to get rid of people that are expensive. And there were so many stories of people laying off a lot of people because of AI and then rehiring them because the AI just basically didn't create what they wanted to. But I found it interesting that Malik talked about that for a while, and I don't know. Like, I mean, the idea of like being replaced by AI is a fear that a lot of people have, and when you see these like mass layoffs, it's super annoying.
Yeah, it's been happening a lot lately, and there's probably a lot of layers around that. And one of the things is that, from my experience, I've heard about stories, companies before developers were scarce, and you just had to hire people that were on the market, even if you have no needs for that. And now they're probably realizing, okay, development is shifting in a completely different direction, and we have all those people that we didn't need in the first place, but they were hired with a reason, because by the way that things were going, we're probably going to need more developers. But if we don't get them now while they're on the market, we're not going to have anyone to hire. So I've heard stories that there were teams in the company that had nothing to do. They were just hired, and you do whatever you want. Once we have projects for you, we're going to give them to you. But right now, you're just going to play on your computers whole day, and we're going to give you great salaries for that.
So sounds like a good thing to have, like, but yeah, it feels too good to be true. And if something in the workshop, in the work environment feels too good to be true, it probably is, and it's not for long, and there's no longevity in it. But yeah, it was interesting to see, especially like Block coming up with that as they were all like, oh, we're the good guys, we're not like the Amazons and others that lay off that many people, but like, yeah, it will be interesting to talk to them about it, because there is reasons, and I mean, it's understandable as well. But that excuse of like AI is making everyone more effective, I don't buy it.
I think there was something in there as well, actually, about how some of this is just signaling to investors. And I thought, God, I mean, to play with people's lives like that, you know, we've got, I mean, however many thousands of developers, 4,000 developers, you know, or people in tech that are now looking for jobs. And, you know, we've got somebody coming on in a few weeks that's unfortunately been a victim of this specific layoff. But they're referring to it as, you know, really it's a way of signaling to investors that we are kind of decisive and that we move quickly and that we do what's necessary. Again, that's one sentence signaling to investors, but it's 4,000 people's lives and their families that we're talking about. So yeah, this stuff doesn't land well with me. It's quite sad to see.
Yeah, if they're
well,
doing
another go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, like if the only reason is we want to take our shares up, then that's a really bad thing. If there is another story behind that, but they have to share this nonsense for investors, then, you know, I don't know, and might make some sense. But again, people who are affected by this, yeah, it's horrible.
Well, their shares were sold like 25% on the first day, but that's normally a blip as well. Like it goes down after that. And the other thing, of course, like people don't talk about the numbers, how much it costs to get rid of that many people. I mean, in America, it's not as bad because you just pay them like a salary of a month or something and like a lump sum. But in Europe, like for every year that you work at a company, you have to get like 1 month of salary free. Like, I mean, when I left my companies, I got like 8 months salary for tax free because of it. And that was by law. And there's a lot of money being wasted on letting people go. And of course, it also tarnishes your reputation, because like, why would I come back to that? Like, why would I try that again? But yeah. I just realized this little touch there when you scroll. That's pretty cool that actually the header moves away first and then the rest of the page scrolls. So it's a very simple thing to do in CSS, but it's cute. Never realized that on this blog before. Cool. Cloudflare said like they rewrote Next.js in the API in 1 week with AI using Vite and Claude, and yeah, I'm okay. I wonder how many tokens. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they said they spent $1,100, but I don't know how many kind of actual tokens it was. But it was really interesting actually to read, because, you know, I do use Next, but in the last year or so, it's come under quite a lot of fire. It's had things like security vulnerabilities that were there for quite a while and were very widespread and not noticed until they'd kind of obviously been kind of implemented by a lot of people worldwide. But also in this article, it basically reveals the kind of lock-in that goes on. Now, I noticed some kind of lock-in in the sense that when you build something with Next, it's very easy to deploy with Vercel. And that obviously makes sense. It's where it's from. But I'd come across 1 or 2 times when I tried to deploy to Netlify that I have these issues, and I don't remember exactly what they were, but they were issues that weren't occurring on Vercel. Now, it's the same build. It didn't really make sense to me as to why it was having issues with Netlify, but this does reveal that there probably is some kind of makes sense, but some leaning towards Vercel. It's made easier by it being made by Vercel to then deploy on Vercel. So that's meant that for people who don't like that, because some of the costs with Vercel have caught people out, they can sneak up on you, particularly image optimizations, caching, things like this, largely because of changes to the framework that then people maybe didn't change their mental model or update their code. And that then makes very inefficient caching and image optimization, which then results in these bills. So I think it totally makes sense that somebody from Cloudflare or this engineer would try and recreate it, not just to show where the issues are, but also to try and help people, I suppose, using the beauty of, I assume it's open source, to let other people do the same thing and try and fight your way out of that lock-in. So yeah, really interesting, and it's hopefully going to put pressure on Vercel to fix some of these issues and kind of bring it up to date.
I still think like 1 week with AI is not that impressive. I mean, that's how I got like into the headlines of like, oh, AI, you get a swarm of agents to do it in a day. Like it feels, but yeah, I guess with like testing and making it proper work. So yeah, it's interesting to see that. But yeah, it's good to see reverse engineering happening in that AI space as well, rather than like getting there. Talking of Next.js, there's this interesting bit as well where like Next.js repos target developers via fake job interviews, and that's connected to a North Korean hacker group. And I found that really fascinating, that basically you get a job interview and they send you to a repository to fork some code, and that actually had malware in it. So you cannot trust anything any longer, even job interviews. It's really bizarre.
Yeah. I had not this experience, a similar experience recently where I was just looking at the job postings and there was a great job listed, applied on LinkedIn, got a message from whatever the person from that company, okay, we're gonna move to interview stages. Wonderful. And first stage is a short interview with the AI to get to know you. Like, why would that be AI? And then I started digging into it and I realized that they're just using fake job listings to train their AI models. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Use case around jobs or employment or whatever. So that's just, yeah, you can't trust anything. But that we have here it's pretty wild. And if you're in the market, you lose your job, you're gonna want to do the interview, and it's a question if you're gonna actually look into that and explore in detail, is that even safe?
Yeah, and it's kind of a new attack. Schneier on security, like one of the oldest security blogs out there, basically said like he's never encountered that before as well. So it seems like there's a special interesting thing. I mean, we had like fake LinkedIn accounts, job listings for quite a while. And sometimes it's tough because you actually get job in large companies, you get like, okay, we need 5 people. So here's the job description. And you give them a job description and then it goes through HR and comes out completely different at the end of it, like with things that you didn't expect. But then a week, by the time the first people answered, some new director would have come in and the jobs are gone again. So it's a fickle thing. Like that's why in WeAreDevelopers, we don't have paper job listing anymore, but people can post as many jobs as they want to when they're a member, because we realize that it can change all the time. But like, who would have thought that LinkedIn would have one of the biggest struggles they have is making sure that it's not fraudulent bots being there rather than people. Interesting. The other thing that came out is Nano Banana 2. People going crazy about it. Haven't played with it yet. It seems like there's a lot of interesting stuff there, but I'm kind of like, I'd rather paint something horrible in Photoshop than have like the perfect thing anymore. But I guess we don't have time to do that all the time. How about you, Zoran? Do you generate a lot of stuff with Gen AI, or is it mostly you're
No, yeah,
concentrating on the code?
yeah. I mostly do it manually in Affinity, but I played around with it. I actually used one of those, not Nano Banana, don't remember what it was, to create a cartoon from my daughter's drawings, which was pretty great and a nice use case. And I had on YouTube, like I'm using vidIQ, which is a plugin for YouTube, and they are offering you ability to generate thumbnails. So I tried that out, and they just used my image from the video to generate like this thumbnail image of me, and I see that it's off. It's not me, but I can't figure out what's missing. So it's crazy good. It's not still perfect. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean that's already the disenfranchisement when you see yourself on screen for the first time, isn't it? Like when you see your own videos and you edit your own stuff, you're like, that's not me. I don't sound like that, because your head vibrates when you talk, and when you just hear the recording, that vibration is not there. So you always are more high pitched than you really think you are. Like but yeah, I guess that's another level to disenfranchise themselves. So does it automatically give you like a shocking expression, like all these YouTube ads will CSS can do that, or things can do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you have to give it a prompt. I didn't do that. I don't like doing that, but if you look at the numbers, it works. Like people are drawn to that, they notice that, and that's why you see that on YouTube, because generally speaking, people do what works and what gets you the views or whatever watch time. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I guess it's part of a human nature that we are drawn to people who have expressions that are outside of the normal expressions. It's unfortunate.
Now here's a nice rabbit hole that I gave Dan the other day, like because I listened in the car and then on some good headphones. I listened to Jimi Hendrix for the first time on some good headphones. I'm like, holy crap, where do these sounds even come from? And this one explains it, that basically he used his guitar as a synthesizer. Or Dan, you over to you, because you understood probably more of that than I did.
Yeah, I'll be honest, quite a lot of this went over my head because it's very much down the kind of science of music. But to give the background to this, I know, Chris, we were talking about, in the backdrop of so much AI content and so much slop, that we were talking about this idea that like it's actually very difficult to kind of, like you were saying then, Zoran, it's very difficult to explain what it is that's the human element in something, but you know it when you hear it. And when it's not there, you know it when it's not there, right? You feel something feels very kind of robotic or digital. And Jimi Hendrix is a really good example of a guitarist who you could not make that with AI. You could get someone to mimic him, the sound, but also this article shows on a kind of sonic, scientific level. But there also the things that he was doing, he was effectively playing with feedback, which you're only going to get as a human being, if you're kind of stepping towards the amplifier. So again, you could add some digital noise, but you couldn't actually recreate that. You couldn't recreate the Jimi Hendrix experience, literally, with AI. So this article was great because it does go into kind of why, and a lot of it is about him doing things that are wrong, or using noise, using things that you shouldn't, quote unquote, use, and that he effectively just stepped outside of all of the rules of like music and guitar and just did whatever he wants. Something that, to loop it right back, AI will never do, because it can only copy things that have already been done and then look for the rules and follow them. So yeah, even though it seems like a tangent, this article, it's kind of trying to get to the bottom of what is that human element that we can recognize, even if we don't know why we can recognize it or how.
Yeah.
That's amazing in audio production, how much of it was chance or an accident, like gated reverb, like people forgetting to turn off a mic on top of the drummer, and then it became part of every song. There's a great YouTube video. Just look for gated reverb, and it's incredible. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah, and I think sorry, I just want to finish up on that very quickly, actually, Chris, and just say that we're now seeing that trend in music a lot, where actually, because of AI music being very polished, that people are doing things like recording vocals in a room without any soundproofing. So you just get the feel of the room, because again, we're going to know on some level, oh, that feels human. That's not an AI plugin. So it's really interesting to see how this kind of cycle takes place.
This is an interesting research as well, where basically people used OpenStreetMap and I guess data from different electrical providers to show like where the most hungry power, basically data centers are, and basically the ones that actually spend the most amount of data out there. And it's like, yeah, it's one in Oman, one in China, and like lots of them in America. And I mean, it's a problem. Like people actually live next to data centers that actually are powering the AI stuff, and they don't have any electricity for their houses any longer. So that's why companies are now being asked to come up with their own data centers and their own electricity centers. And it's going to be interesting to see that. But I found the research behind it. Like if you go to 404 Media, you can read up on like where the data came from. And a lot of these things are not officially listed. So that's an interesting bit that OpenStreetMap allows you to get that kind of information that you don't get anywhere else. Another really cute one, Neil, I tried to get him on the show, but he's not happy to actually be public too much. He just wants to do more fun things. The Size of Life, that's basically a site that just goes from like the smallest to the largest bit. What I like most about that is that it looks like a Flash page back then, but it's all CSS and HTML. And I love how beautiful these things are nowadays, and how you can stream them, and how you can make that information just beautifully displayed. It's just gorgeous.
He never misses.
And
Neil.fun is always like, it's every single website that he's put on that page is amazing.
Yeah, it's so well done, so nice, amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, the old person of the web to me is like, oh, well, shit, these are all PNGs. So we have to put like the fix for Internet Explorer in there to support the transparency on PNGs. And you're like, no, Chris, we don't do that anymore. It's actually fine. But yeah, it's a fun website and a fun little thing to just play with. I love that. And yeah, he does a lot of this stuff. Now, going to like some tips and tricks, because we've been chatting a lot. I just published this one, and it fascinates me how many people didn't know about it. Like there's so many people that talk about like going back to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and like it's so hard to find hosting. And you're like, no, you got GitHub. That's where you actually have your source code, and GitHub pages, and also I guess GitLab pages, or also Codeberg pages, and they're all kind of a bit different, but I guess all of them allow you to host HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And this is the simplest example where basically you can display the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript executable, but at the same time also show the source code on GitHub pages without doing anything else but this Markdown file. And yeah, you can then click on the thing and that you test it out, and the other one is basically just showing that code color coded, and then you can use templates as well. And style them yourself. So on our magazine, I've got a more in-depth article that actually explains how to get started with hosting HTML, CSS, and JS on GitHub. Of course, if you host it on CodePen, people can edit it as well and fork it and go further with it. But I love that actually, in this case, you have connected the source code with the example, so you never get out of sync. That's the main thing. If you don't start on CodePen like Anna Tudor does, she just use anything else but CodePen. I think this is a very easy way to get started. And the documentation of GitHub pages is good, but it sometimes feels a bit overwhelming. That's why I did a bit of step-by-step example there. And it's amazing how much more we can get into Eleventy and Liquid. And next week we're gonna have Kitty Girodel here, and she's going to talk more about that. But I find it just fascinating how many people just try to find a solution where there's one right in front of you.
I completely that. I used it ages ago, like maybe 10 years ago, completely forgot it. And now that I've seen your article, oh yeah, that's possible. And I've checked my GitHub, and I do have like a simple page on GitHub IO. So yeah, it's good to be reminded that a lot of things can be simplified.
Yeah.
And the most important thing here is actually that actions page that you check and see. You see the workflow where it builds, and if it fails, then it tells you why it builds there. And that was great that nowadays it's actually like 2 or 3 minute build. And like basically back in the days when GitHub pages started, it was just random. It could be half an hour, it could be 10 minutes. You never knew when your thing was being built. And now you got this insight as well to see where it's being built. So that's quite interesting as well. Now,
One thing I
Dan,
haven't
you
looked
sent
on.
me.
So just before we move on, Chris, on that, just a question. Do we, because I know you can deploy your different branches. Can you deploy them as multiple pages? Because I've only sort of tried on one repo to sort of build one GitHub page, but you can choose the branch.
You can choose the branch, but you cannot have several GitHub pages.
Yeah.
It basically, GitHub pages has one branch. There is a way in the repo to actually have more detailed branching. So it might be that's there, but I haven't looked into that one yet. Like you can write your own actions, and that probably deploys somewhere else. That might be that there is a chance to do that. And of course, it's very easy to connect the domain to it. Like the developer advocacy handbook that I have is actually on GitHub as well. It's hosted there, and I just connected the domain, and that basically you don't need to, and that's just a CNAME entry in the repo, and in your DNS settings of your domain, you point it to GitHub. That's as easy as it is to have a custom domain for that.
That's interesting. Nice.
And yeah, Dan, you sent this one to me, which again reminded me of Leah Varou's, like back in the days. She did this just the Leasus thing, and that one became part of the developer tools as well, like in the animation editor in Chromium tools. You can do that as well. But this is basically just in
brilliant.
detail doing sign animations and then exporting them. What format does it export it? Oh, in CSS.
Yeah, I know you can get Swift and Objective-C. Yeah, I think that. I mean, if you look at the CSS, that's a really good example of why this needs to exist, right? I think that yes, it is readable, it is writable, but it's just not fun to do. And I think the other thing is that I'm a big fan of kind of these types of details, but I say that with a sort of asterisk next to it, that with a caveat that I try to use them as little as possible when it's web work, because I think that they are generally unnecessary and obviously the performance issues. But I am a fan of taking things that are quite technical and work across different sort of mediums. Like we do this with code, but it's also something we do in video with After Effects. And you quite often get into, if you do anything like motion graphics, you get into using what's called the graph. So you can handle the kind of, the fade out and how fast that happens. But as you can tell when I'm talking about it, it's quite technical and fiddly, whatever you do it on, whether it's code or software. So this is just brilliant because it's visual. You can see with the lines, the curves, you know what you're going to get. And I mean, look, it's going to save you having to look at that CSS. And although Zoran, I think there's something tells me that you would love to do that by hand, if only for the newsletter content. But yeah, it's great.
No, I wouldn't. I never do these types of things by hand. I love tools like this one where you just have one simple thing that the tool does and just handles it for you, because the thing that we're talking about here is very visual. So I can read numbers like that to understand what's going to happen in the actual animation. Like probably there are people who do that, but yeah, I would just play with that and copy the code. Love that.
Yeah. I realized the other day as well, like if you go to preview, that you have the arrows as well in preview, and they just started being bouncy as well. So if you, let me try that, the markup. And you used to just have a chance to paint arrows on the thing in preview in Mac. But now if you go there and you go in the middle there, you can actually make them bouncy as well. They're not straight anymore. And that seems to be a new Mac OS thing that I haven't found it in month. Probably that's the other option. But it's really good that it's in there as well. It's interesting. Cool. Another thing that I gave Dan a few months ago, basically, which is fascinating, is Mole, which is, of course, not working anymore. Like, try that again. Wow. It's basically a terminal thing to clean your Mac. So you basically have an interface, an interactive interface that says, okay, MO, and then it says like, okay, we found app cache, we found browser cache, developer tools that are unused, app-specific cache, and so on and so forth in the trash. And then you realize just how much data you have on your hard drive that doesn't do anything, that you can actually free and clean up quite nicely. Probably there's something for Windows as well that way. That probably comes with like 15 pop-ups and like, are you sure you want to do this or not? But it's interesting to see. And I mean, Dan, you said you cleaned up a lot of stuff using that, right?
Yeah, so I've got a Mac Mini M2. I think I'm on 500 gig as the storage space, but I ran into an issue where I was on about 40 gigabytes left, and I thought, I don't understand how all of my work is on Google Drive and it's all kind of run out of the cloud. And it turns out that it was mostly files that are downloaded through things like music and video production, lots and lots of these kind of dead files that were just caches and all sorts, that even when I use the built-in Mac cleanup tools, it doesn't really get them, because I look at the list you've got there, Chris, with Mole, and that's pretty much everything that the Mac sort of storage cleanup doesn't go and find. It doesn't find things like browser, I don't think anyway, kind of browser files and things that are just sat in sort of different caches. It pretty much just shows you, here's your documents, here's your large files, here's your applications, which ones you want to get rid of. So yeah, I ended up removing, I think it was 360 gigabytes in one go. I just left it running for about an hour, came back, was expecting to have about 100 gigabytes free. And then I saw 360 and I actually restarted my Mac because I was like, that can't be right. And yeah, it just shows how much, like you're saying, things just get stored as standard on your kind of, your main hard drive, your internal hard drive, by a lot of these sort of different softwares, and they're downloading things just saying, do you want this? I know it's you have said you want to download it, but it mounts up very quickly and then isn't actually easy to get rid of. So yeah, I'm definitely going to use this tool and see if I can just clear off another 50. That'd be nice. That'd be good.
Cool.
Yeah, that's exactly my experience too. I tried this tool and I ran it on my code directory, and I have like maybe 20, 25 projects in there, and it cleared up 15 gigabytes of node modules. Like, how's that even possible?
Yeah.
Folders. Yeah, I mean, also the Git commands, like when you have a Git repo in something, there's a lot of hidden files that you don't see that actually amount to a lot of stuff. The worst thing you can do is actually put a Git repo inside a Dropbox folder or inside a OneDrive folder, because that's a massive erase condition just on your machine to slow it down. It's just really brutal.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a new feature, or like newish feature on this show that that I don't know, Zoran, if you actually realized. It's called Fake or News. So we have like 10 headlines that I either made up or that I found for the newsletter. So we go through them right now. I asked the both of you if it's yes or no, and people can play along as well if they want to at home. And we're going to release that later on YouTube to play as well. So let's play Fake or News. All right, first one. Microsoft deletes blog telling users to train AI on pirated Harry Potter books.
It sounds real. What do you think, Zoran?
News. It was real. I mean, that was part of that whole drop of the Anna's archive. That basically all the pirated books in the past. Humanoid robot learns realistic leap movements by watching YouTube.
I'd say that.
Yeah, it feels true, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. AI models deployed nuclear weapons in 95% of war game simulations.
Oh, I hope that's false.
I'm going to say it's true. It sounds...
It is news. It's true. And I mean, this is basically the plot of War Games, the movie. Like, we warned you about this in 1986, and we're still doing it. New study shows AI can detect early signs of Alzheimer's through voice analysis.
I'd like to say it's true. You don't think it?
No.
It's fake. Burger King will use AI to check if employees say please and thank you.
That's got to be true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if you pay somebody not enough, then you might as well dehumanize them, right? AI note takers are creating HR nightmares.
Yeah,
That sounds right. Yeah.
privacy
It
concerns.
is true. Yeah, not surprised. Count the fingers. Nano Banana 2 automatically detects glitches and recreates the image.
I don't think so.
No, it wouldn't have done it in the first place.
Yeah.
Correct.
That
Smart
would be-
Ring monitors health and provides real-time medical advice.
Yeah, that exists, doesn't it?
I don't know. I'd say fake.
Wait, advice.
Yeah. How would it actually give you the advice? On your mobile phone, or how would you do it?
That's a good point.
Android
Yeah.
app alerts you when somebody nearby is wearing smart glasses.
Oh, great idea. If you've just made that up, which I think you did, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll say it's fake, but
It's true. I mean, there's also the thing that, like, today was a news item that it sends all the data to Kenya, even if it's not turned on. So Meta is in touch with the European Commission again about this.
Wow.
A dish of neurons playing Doom is the wildest thing I've seen in ages.
Yeah, that has to be true.
I don't think that's fake.
No, it's news, actually. And I mean, Doom works on everything. I mean,
Everything.
it will be fun to actually talk to the maker of Doom again when he comes and speaks again at our event. Yeah, that was fake news this time. Well done. You guessed most of them correctly.
Very nice.
Cool. So, Zoran, let's talk about some cool CSS shit that's happening lately. I mean, when it comes to the CSS news that you're doing, like, where do you go to find them? Like, I mean, I have like 6,000 RSS feeds that I look through and several newsletters and stuff, and I troll like social media I gave up on because it's too hard to find things, except for LinkedIn. I have a few people that show their CSS stuff there, which we also had on the show, some of them already. But where do you go to find great things about CSS news?
Yeah, same thing that you do. Like, I'm subscribed to dozens and dozens of RSS feeds, and that's my main source. But I'm subscribed to just as many newsletters who share a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot of overlap with my newsletter as well. But I often pick up things from them too. And social media is it used to be a great source to find good articles and stuff, but now these days it doesn't feel that way, at least. Like, there's just things aren't surfacing, so I don't really use it. If I stumbled accidentally on something, then that's great. But most of the people that I follow there, I also subscribe to their RSS feeds, so I get that reliably from different places.
I mean, I complained about this on my blog yesterday, where one of the biggest problems that I see in LinkedIn especially is that people show you something but don't show it to you. They basically they have a video of it, and then they're like, oh, comment banana, and then you get a DM from me and you get access to the thing, and you're like, this is wasting everybody's time. And like, I mean, why would LinkedIn want to have like 6,000 comments saying banana? Like, what's the point of that? I know that you pay that influencers are being paid by interaction now, by making interactions happen rather than just views. But this is nonsensical interactions. These don't make any extra efforts. And back in the days, people just pointed a code pen and you can play with it immediately. But then nowadays, you just see like some lines of CSS being written, and you're like, well, do you expect me to now copy and paste that into my editor and try it out? It's weird, isn't it, that people go away from that, like just showing to like, let's introduce yourself to something and you have to ask me nicely to get it.
I think that's just another way of playing with the algorithms. So the platform creates an algorithm where they want to keep people on the page, and then people figure out a way to trick that, to game that, and so they have to catch up and now figure out how to remove that nonsense that they created in the first place by their rules. So I hate that. Like, it's everywhere. Like, on Instagram, there's a lot of those things that, like, they trick you. They show you a bit, and then comment to get the whole article or whatever. And I guess it works from their perspective because they're getting engagement, they're getting more visibility on their profiles, so that's why they do it. But yeah, but it's a very shady tactic. I don't like it. Yeah.
I do think, looking from this angle though, just that there's two sort of things happening, aren't there? I think, you know, Chris, like you said, you've got the influencers that are doing it that are more about the exposure and the personal branding than actually trying to show the useful CSS tricks. And then we've got people like yourself, Zoran, where I think, you know, you can see that, right, in the content that people make. If they've gone for a deep dive on something, or they've really explored something that's actually going to be, you know, have like real uses for people, and there's a real benefit to it, they're the people like yourself that I think grow that audience. And the newsletter is having a bit of a revival, right? That it felt like there was a period where it had died off because social media took its place, but maybe because there's so many people on social media now, the newsletters come back because we need to know who we can trust and who's going to give us, like you, a deep dive, and who's just going to kind of dangle something and then say, comment nano banana if you want it.
Yeah,
it feels that to me.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, I don't see that in my numbers. I think we're in the stage where AI is taking over newsletters, but people are going to get information from AI. They don't care about the source. Like, you just give me the too long didn't read bit. But yeah, hope that is right, that people will, once they get bored with AI, once they figure out that they cannot trust it. And that is the thing that I've noticed with myself, that I'm becoming way more distrusting of things that I see. Like, even if from reliable sources, and now I'm just first have to figure out, okay, is this real, or are they just generating this in AI and I cannot even trust it? It's how the stuff is hallucinated. And yeah, and when you play with the AIs, in specific, like in CSS, it comes up, it hallucinates properties or values, which is ridiculous. People who don't understand behind what's behind, or don't have the knowledge of CSS, like, they're not going to be able to figure out that this makes no sense. So yeah, like, I think that not right now, but maybe with time, people who can be trusted will gain the upper hand. Like, we're gonna get back to that, because I don't see any way around it. Like, if you cannot trust AI, and you can't, then you have to find people who you can trust. And that's why, first and foremost, if you build something, if you work on something, then, you know, do it authentically as you, because otherwise, like, what's the value in that? I can get everything from AI. I want to see, you know, Chris and Dan on screen talking to me, and not some AI nonsense, or AI voice for that matter.
Yeah, or like AI voice generated from your voice and from your video. I've seen a lot of people like generate like instructional videos with AI from themselves, and as you said, like, it feels kind of glitchy. There's like something is really off about it.
Yeah, and it's getting so good that you can't really tell what, but you still feel that it's off. That's my experience, at least. And yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I've seen people that use it to translate their voice, and basically record a video in English, and then just say like, okay, the Chinese voice is synthesized, but it looks like me speaking Chinese. Yeah, I mean, this is great, of course, but at the same time, I still feel it's like disingenuous. It's like not trustworthy kind of thing, because like, no, I mean, then people ask you in Chinese, you have no idea of answering.
That's a good point. Like, YouTube does this automatically. Like, they translate the audio now to, like, I don't know, like 20 languages, and I have that on my channel. And I actually didn't look into stats, but I had some people commented that I should just turn that off, because it just sounds completely wrong in the translated language. So like, it's gonna get better with time, probably, and you do reach more people, I guess. But yeah.
I mean, there are markets where it's important. I mean, China is probably one of them, because it's so different to the languages in Europe. But I think the other thing is also a lot of German people look for German content, or French people look for French content. So that might be one thing where it's interesting as well. But yeah, it's fascinating that people go for that. I found this Can We page, which I found really interesting, because the Can I Use, of course, is the big one that everybody knows, but it has a lot of more stuff as well. Like it shows you like the AT interoperability reports about different screen readers and stuff like that, features and so on and so forth. And I found that interesting. Like earlier when we showed the easing thing, I was actually wondering, and I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but I mean, the whole WebKit, O, and Mozilla prefixes, that seems to me like not necessary anymore. Is that just something that they do for safety reasons? Because if you have a Firefox that still needs the mods prefix, that's like 8 years old.
No, you don't need that anymore. Like I actually looked through CSS Weekly archives and I shared that tool like in 2020 or 2023. So it's probably a lot older than that. And yeah, it's not necessary to do that. But back in the day, yeah, this was the thing that you had to do if you wanted to use features. Those were,
and it's a lot of cruft. It's a lot of stuff on the web that's still out there. And like, I mean, these are not an issue, but when it comes to like old Internet Explorer stuff that were filters, those filters were actually executed JavaScript inside CSS. So they're an they're an attack vector. So yeah, clean up your old crap. That's really important, is what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about CSS that I found lately, and you had a few posts on that as well, is that it got away from like these in-depth posts about like, here's how to do things with CSS, and this is the weird numbers that you have to do to get the font sizing right from one header to another, and like here's some calc thing that is completely inexplicable, to like interactive elements becoming now stylable. And this is now the big thing. And this cracked me up. I saw this in a newsletter this morning. The select box is now stylable. It's fully stylable. And that's finally a thing because people used all kind of extra things to make that. But this is really, really cool. But basically, you select your fruit by shooting it. And
I love developers. I just love developers. It's just crazy.
This is not fitting. So let's open that actually in a new tab instead of the other one, so you can see it properly. Oh, wow, that's broken. Okay, fair enough. Okay, but you shoot the different fruit, and that's how you select them, rather than like just having it in there. And this is just, it's just CSS, and it's not even JavaScript. Look at that. This is just mental. Like how do you even do that? Like, oh wow, animation delay and everything. So this is just very, very much fun.
You can do everything, and yeah, that's over engineering it, but the money does a lot of great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Tenani, where is he from?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh God, mini CSS Mario. Yeah, I already know something that I want to play with. Okay, that's fun.
Very cool.
Also, lists are finally fully stylable. So Richard Rutter, who actually I haven't seen him do anything for a long time, has an in-depth article about list pointers. Now, one thing that annoyed me about this is like when you turned off display on a list, that Safari didn't announce it to screen readers anymore as a list, because too many people did that and it was overwhelming people of screen readers. And that annoyed me because I want to do the right thing. I want to do the semantic list and then not show it as a list, but then it doesn't display it as a list. So that felt like a really weird loop thing that didn't work out. But yeah, there's it's amazing how much detail you get into all these things. And that seemed to me, I don't know, do you get the same feeling that over the last few, let's say a year, CSS got more into the giving us stylable components natively that are more detailed, that give you like more granular access to list items, for example, than we had before? Like all the pseudo classes that come out lately seem to be the biggest change that happened in CSS.
Yeah, a lot of these things came out recently, and I love that. It's really great and allows you to just remove a whole bunch of code that was used to work around the issues, like with lists, for example, if you wanted to style it properly. And I think you still have to, because it's not supported in all browsers. But like you said, you have to remove it, and you have accessibility issues. And now the browsers are, I guess, catching up to our use cases and are actually implementing things natively that can easily be styled and used as we actually use them on web. because the first thing that you usually do when you create an ordered list is just list style none, because you cannot really style the native elements, or you couldn't before. So now there are ways, but I don't think it's there in terms of browser support yet. So, but yeah, features like that are really great. Another one that I love is, I think it's currently supported only in Safari, and it's a toggle for switch element on the checkbox. So basically on the input checkbox, you just put in, I think it's switch attribute, and it turns it into this like mobile style knob that goes left and right. And to do that with CSS, I mean, you can do it, but it is a whole bunch of code. You need to probably add some HTML elements around that, and it's just completely overwhelming if you create from scratch. And now we're replacing that with one attribute in HTML, and you can style it using the pseudo classes in CSS. I think that's great.
And it's progressive enhancement because it's still a checkbox if it's not supported. So that's fine too. Yeah. Border shape is another thing that just went out, and this was basically Uma talking about that, and I found that really fascinating as well, because that kind of stuff was just like, yeah, you had to use SVGs, or you had to do all kind of extra. I mean, even people even use Canvas to paint things like that rather than just having it in CSS, and now you can actually do a border shape thing. And border shape versus corner shape. So really lots of detail there. That's interesting to see.
I remember the old days on that. I was just thinking, seeing those arrowed kind of menu items. Like, I remember doing it. I'm sure you did it as well. You know, the old PNG kind of doing it in Photoshop, putting them next to each other, and then those little arrowed kind of bits were just like spacers, you know, that you would kind of put as a slice and things on Dreamweaver. It's just, but I always loved the visual of that, and was always quite frustrated that you couldn't, or it was very difficult to actually make them hoverable kind of paths. Because Chris, I know you mentioned in the past you did something, was it with a map or something, and you had to do sort of different clickable sections of an image and make them down to the pixel. And I remember seeing that specifically when it was very unusual shapes with clickable sections, and I never understood how it was done, you know, because this was 2004 when we were still using like, GIFs, and we didn't even have, I don't think, transparent PNGs.
Yeah, this was that irregular shape rollover that I did, where I'm using Canvas to actually recognize the mouse position and see if the color under it is has an alpha channel or not. And this is basically how to do that. So
but we used to do that with image maps, didn't we? Wasn't that the use case?
You can do it. Yeah, before that you can even do it in image maps, but that meant you had to paint an image map for each of the images. So that was the other thing. And nowadays you can do it also with like transparency on the image. You recognize that automatically. That's something that I wrote about a few weeks ago as well. So, but I can't remember where I put it right now. But yeah, it's great that these things exist. So in terms of like timing wise, we've got another minute or so to go, which we chatted too much about it. So Zoran, I mean, CSS Weekly, guys, subscribe to it and watch his videos on YouTube as well. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming on there. What is your main thing that you get annoyed about with CSS and people? Like, what do people keep saying about CSS that you wish they wouldn't? And where can they find up-to-date information that's trustworthy on CSS, except for your newsletter, of course?
Yeah, like that's a good question. I'm not really sure. Like, I think that there's way too many people who just jump into one category or another. Like, I'm exclusively using Tailwind, I'm exclusively using CSS, and I won't touch the other. I think there are use cases for every tool or every approach, and if it works for you, great. But like, putting everything into one category, you should never use that. You shouldn't do that. I think that's the wrong mental model to have, so to speak. And in terms of finding good content, I'm not sure. Follow people are already probably following, like we've seen their articles here, like Una has fantastic stuff. Then I would mention Kevin Powell on YouTube, like amazing stuff. And you can also, if you find creators that you love, that you can trust, and there are quite a few in World of CSS. I share their stuff in the newsletter always, and those are the people who I don't even have to read the article. I know it's good, so I just can put it in. And if it's somebody new, I'm gonna have to read through it, make sure it's really good and not AI generated or something. So I don't know. Maybe we're seeing resurgence of newsletters, but a lot of people are gonna look for at least basic information in AIs by just chatting. And yeah, be careful about that, or at least get some knowledge about the underlying topics about CSS or whatever it is you're looking for, to understand if what you're getting is actually good, or if there is a newer thing that you can use that would better handle the case that you're solving.
What is one thing in CSS that you just don't grasp that still is like a problem to do in CSS that you wished it would be possible on the web?
I don't know. There's so many things in CSS that I still haven't properly played with or tested, that probably everything is solved. Like, I don't have that many use cases that would be just, okay, I don't know how to do that, or there's no way around that. Like I mentioned before, I love those tiny little features that are easy to just add into your project's existing. You don't even have to worry about fallback or anything like that. Corner shape is a great example. Like, we're just getting nicer borders, rounded elements that just visually look better. And I think that those enhancements are really great, and I love everything around that. And there are also those complex features like containers and whatnot. And I think that a lot of people still going away or are shy about trying it out because it just seems overwhelming at first. And like, I had experience with people telling me like, oh, I don't use CSS grid. It's too complicated. And that's out for ages. And people are still like, you know what, it doesn't seem like CSS, because in CSS you have one line of text and that's it. It does what it needs to do. So yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe we need to more authentic content around simple topics, showing people how to do stuff, not like an in-depth guide, but like, okay, this is a quick tip of how you can use CSS grid in this particular context. I mean, I love that, and people respond pretty well lately to those types of things. I mean, probably attention spans are growing shorter, so it's difficult to drag people into a deeper article or a video, but yeah, that's an interesting challenge to solve.
Yeah, color spaces. I'm completely what is that even? I'm just okay, LCH, whatever. I'm like, okay, this is something, please. I mean, I found a good guide for that to basically go through, but halfway through, I'm like, why do I care? But it's an interesting
like, yeah, I get like HSL is really great. You can easily tweak the lightness and saturation, but now you're getting a whole bunch of different formats, and each one has a very, very specific use case. And this is going to be visible only on specific monitors, and you have to spend like 5,000 euros to get that kind of monitor. So can you even test that then?
That's actually a good point. So we're getting into the world of graphics, like t-shirt printing and things like this, where you send sort of a design off and they say, sorry, it's RGB, we need it in CMYK and 150.
Yeah.
We're actually getting into that world, aren't we, where we used to just have hex and RGB and
Yeah. Well, we got there with Retina or high DPI monitors, where we actually need to do graphics now for people with normal stuff and people with new stuff. So maybe we're getting there with colors too.
Yeah, I remember the first time I had like a high definition MacBook, and I did a screenshot, and I basically was like, okay, 300 by 200 pixels, and it was like 1200 pixels, and I'm like, why is that so big? And it's like, oh yeah, because under the hood it actually is 4 times the resolution, and you're like, okay, that makes sense, but yeah, tricky to get through. Well, I mean, Zoran, this was great. Like, we can do that again if you want to, because we have so much to talk about. This is really fun. And yeah, any last words you have for our audience, for our live show audience, what to do next and where to get excited about?
Well, yeah, check out CSS Weekly, check out Join.js. I'm a developer advocate there, and we're going to be creating a ton of content around that. So if you don't need a diagramming library, you probably will at some time. So check us out. And it was a pleasure talking with you, and thank you so much for having me here.
Cool. Any last words from you, Dan?
Yes, just to say thank you very much, Zoran. We love talking CSS, or I do anyway, and I know Chris does as well. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and that gives us a nice bit of inspiration, and it's timed well because we've got an article going to be on the magazine this week with some overflow tools which we couldn't fit into the newsletter, and they happen to be CSS and visual design tool generators. So yeah, keep an eye on WeAreDevelopers.com for that, and of course follow Zoran on LinkedIn, etc. Now I'm doing your job, Chris. Back to you.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Thanks very much for watching, and we see you next week, and we see you in the newsletter on Friday, and yeah, on and so on and so forth. And look at Zoran's YouTube because there's so much to learn. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.